Hi guys, welcome to Algebra 1/2. We're on lesson 54 today. This is talking about decimal parts of a number. So we've already learned when you want to find a fractional part of a number, you can use this equation. F times of equals is. So that means the fraction of a number equals that number. The fraction times that number equals that number. Because remember when we use that word of, that always means multiply. So since fractions and decimals are related, we can use the same exact equation with a decimal. So instead of fraction, I say decimal times of equals is. So let's put that into practice. 0.4 of what number is 72? So using my equation, I know that I have my decimal, and I'm going to not include the 0 right now. For math's sake, I don't need it. 0.4 times my of number. Well, I have of what number? So I'm not given that number. That's going to be my variable. So it's going to be 4 times n. I'm going to do the X symbol right now. 4 times n equals, so that's where that number is 72. So I have 0.4 times n equals 72. Well, to solve for n, I just need to do the opposite. So since I'm multiplying, I need to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 0.4. Let me write that again so it's not quite as difficult to see. 0.4. Now, when I do the work to divide, remember that when you divide by a decimal, you have to move your decimal over. You can't just divide like this. You have to move your decimal over so that you no longer have the decimal in your divisor. But when you do that, you also have to move your decimal in your dividend. So I move it one place over here, I have to move it one place over here. So it becomes 720 divided by 4 instead of 72 divided by 0.4. Okay? So 7 divided by 4, one time. Let's do my division. 7 minus 4 is 3. 3 is less than 4, so I can break down my 2. 4 goes into 32. 8 times 4 is 32. That's a 0. Bring down my 0. 4 goes into 0. 0 times. So n equals 180. To check this, I put 180 in place of n. So it becomes 0.4 times 180 equals 72. And you do the multiplication to make sure that 0.4 times 180 really does equal 72 and that you got the right answer. But we're not going to do that in the lesson. But you should do that in your math work. I'm not doing it here just so we can move on to the next problem. But in your math work, make sure you do it so that you don't have to go back and fix it. Okay, what decimal part of 240 is 90? Okay, so here I have the decimal of, so multiply 240 is, so equals 90. So using my formula, I have decimal times 240 equals 90. Now I solve for my decimal. So I am multiplying on this side. To solve for d, I need to divide by 240. All right, so I get decimal equals, well, excuse me, if I were to reduce my fraction, I first reduce it to 9 over 24 because that's easy. Then both can be divided by 3, so I get 3/8. But I don't want a fraction. I want a decimal. So what is 3/8 as a decimal? You remember? This is one of those decimals that you're supposed to memorize. But if you don't have it memorized, the way you turn something from a fraction to a decimal is by dividing. You have 3 divided by 8. And when you divide that out, you would get 0.3. Remember? 75. Okay, if you don't have that memorized, that is something that you should memorize. 0.375 is your decimal. Again, put 0.375 in place of D, multiply, and see if you get 90 to make sure you have the right answer. Okay, let's try the last one before your practice. 4/10 of 72 is what number? Okay, so I have 4/10, that's what I'm going to write as my decimal. Don't write that as a fraction, write it as a decimal. Of times 72 is equals what number? All right, 4/10 is a decimal. Remember, that would be 0.4 because you have your 4 in the tenths place. If you feel like you have to put it first as a fraction and then convert it to a decimal, that's fine. But 4/10 is 0.4. Of is times 72 is equals what number? N for the number that's missing. Okay, so then we multiply 0.4 times 72. So let's see, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 7 is 28. I have one decimal place, so I move my decimal point over one spot. So I have 28.8 equals N. Okay, to check this, just do your multiplication again to make sure that you didn't do it incorrectly the first time. Okay. Let's go ahead and do your practice. Pause now. Your practice is on page 155. All right, you should be back now with letters A, B, and C done. A says 7/10 of what number is 0.14. So that was 0.7 times N equals 0.14. And that is 0.2. 0.2. Letter B, 7/100 of 86 is what number? So you should have had 0.07 times 86 equals N, and that is 0.07 times 86, I don't remember if I said it that way or not, equals N, so that gives you 6.02. And lastly, letter C, what decimal part of 72 is 30.24? So that should be D times 72 equals 30.24. And you should have gotten 0.42 as your answer. Let me know if you have any questions about that. If you struggle with your decimals and what to do when dividing, let me know. Let me know if you need a separate video and I will help you with those, okay? Have a wonderful day, guys. I will see you in our next lesson. Bye.